Thanks for watching. I'm Prerna Agarwal, Technical Product Owner for The Guardian. Today I'll be giving you a short demo on complex iterative workflow. So in the carbon project validation market, the exchange between the project developers and the validators often span months, which includes multiple clarifications, corrective actions, and the document versions. So in order to transform this process into a digital verifiable workflow, capturing every interaction directly within the Guardian, we have introduced this particular feature, which involves like a lot of interaction and which is more visible and transparent at in the Guardian side, and you can also view this at the Hedera side. Now let's look at the particular demo. So in this particular demo, I would be acting at different roles. One is I would be acting as a project proponent or a project developer. The second, I would be also acting as a VVB or a validator. And third, I would be also acting as a standard registry, which would actually accept and add the project and allow me to assign the project to the validator to check it. So in this particular demo, I would be using with VM33 as one of my demo policy. So as you can see that I have published VM33 2.0 version in as a standard registry, and I have published it, and I have added as a project proponent, and now I'm acting as a project proponent. So first I would like to actually register myself as a project proponent. So once I'm registered, now I would like to actually submit a project as a project proponent. So here I would be submitting a project description under VM33. So as you can see that we do have several different fields. So as it is more a number of fields to be entered, I would be using an easier way for us to enter through console. So I do have a JSON file already been built, which is VCS CCB VD version 1. So I do have the JSON file. I'll copy it. I'll select I copy, and then I go here. I open my console and I submit it. So now as you can see that my data has been updated over here, and then all the fields have been added, and I don't get any issues. So I click on validate and create. So once the project has been submitted, as you see, it is saying waiting to be added. So I would log in as a standard registry so that I can add this particular project to the policy. So I log in as a standard registry. Now I go to project pipeline and I can view the document with all the project details which the project developer have been submitted, and then I go ahead and click on add. So once it is been added, now it says waiting to be validated. Now I go to project proponent, and I now can assign my project to a validator by selecting green check. So in today's demo, I would be using green check company as a validator to validate the project. So once that is done, now I can log in as a VVB and then verify my submissions of the project. So in order to check and validate, I would click on view document. So as you can see that all the details of the project which was submitted by the project proponent, now as a validator, I can see that particular submission. Now, as you can see that I can see all the details, and while looking at the details, I would actually like to validate couple of things. One is specifically the field. In this particular demo, I would be validating 2.3.7 field, which addresses a community risk and benefits. So the main critical component for the safeguard alignment under the VCS and CCB standard is to modify or is to give like proper description for the community cost and risk and benefits. So as after reviewing, I feel that this particular field does not address those things. So now I would like to actually comment or give a comment to the project proponent to correct this with by means of my this particular feature. So in order to do that, first I need to create a new discussion. So I would just write the discussion name as 2.3.7 review. And then, so there are a couple of things over here. One is you can also select the respective document, but in this case, it's not mandatory. I would leave it. But the other main component is a privacy setting. So right now we have three types of privacy settings, which is public, roles, and users. So one is by default, all these comments, the interactions or the clarifications between project proponent, standard registry, and VVB, it would be all encrypted, meaning that when you open the indexer, you would not be able to see this conversation publicly. You would need a decrypted key where which you will get by the respective roles. But this particular role is public, meaning that this conversation would be visible to all the roles involved in your policy. Whereas roles, you can also select the respective roles where you want to actually show this particular conversation, and users is nothing but the respective users where you want to actually show this particular conversation. But for today's demo, I would be keeping it as public, meaning that I would be okay to show this conversation between the project proponent and the VAB to all the roles or to all the people who are involved in this policy. So I would like to create the discussion name. And then once that is done, I would like to comment on this particular ticket, this particular field, which will actually give me the opportunity to comment on what corrections the project proponent needs to do. So I would just say the project proponent must update section 2.3.7 of the PD to provide clarification if there are any potential costs and risks to the stakeholders as a result of the project. So now as you can see that I have been telling that this particular is a field, and then you need to make the project proponent must update the section 2.3.7 of the PD to provide the more clarifications. And after adding this comments, I would like to go ahead and reject, indicating that provided some comments to correct section 2.3.7. And then I go ahead and reject it. So once it is rejected and I have added the comment, now I would log out and log back in as project proponent. Now I'm waiting as a project proponent for my validation for my project. Now I would see that, oh, my project is being rejected, and I would go ahead and see the comments of VVB. So now as you can see that to my 2.3.7, the validator says that I need to update section 2.3.7 of the PD to provide more clarification if there are any potential costs and risks to the stakeholders as a result of the project. So in order to correct this, what I would do is I would again like to submit a new project with all the corrections. So for that particular thing, I have created a next version, which I have added a more detailed clarifications of what the project, of what the validator have been expected. So I would copy this, and then again I would use a console to update my corrected PD. Now, as you can see that I have corrected my PD, and let's go to 2.3.7 section. And I can show you what corrections I have made for that particular thing. So as you can see that I have added the potential cost and the risk as we have expected. So as there is no issue with my project data submission, I will click on validate and create. Which will actually create a new document. So when I'm doing this, I would also add a comment for the VVB saying that I have updated. For that, again, I would create a 2.3.7 review, and then I would make that still as public. So now I would first go to my 2.3.7 section, and I would comment. I would just add a comment to show VVB that I have made these changes. So I would say I have updated section 2.3.7 with the clarification regarding the potential costs and risks to the stakeholders. The project now recognizes that its implementation may generate beyond the expected benefits and certain potential risks and costs for local stakeholders. And then I would click on submit. So once this is done, I would now log back in as a standard registry just to make sure that it has been accepted by standard registry to add this in the policy. Now I would log back in. I would go here. I can click on add. So once that is done, now I can again log back in as a project proponent and assign a green check or VVB to validate my submitted new version of the project. So once it is assigned, I would now go back as a VVB, and now I can check all the corrections which was made by project proponent. Is it validated? Is it approved or not? And then I would now see what corrections the project proponent have made. So as you can see that I see this. I go here I see the project proponent. I have updated section 2.3.7. So I go to that particular section. And see if the respective corrections have been made. So once that has been, I would say the corrections are made as the corrections for section 2.3.7 are made as expected, and hence the PD is approved. So in addition to my comment, I would also act to add an approved document, which I have already been created, which I would receive from the blue green check. So I would also attach that particular file. I would also show you how that particular or what that particular file would contain. So as you can see that this is more of an approval document which I would receive from the green check, which is a validator, that what is the date of the approval and what is the title, the community cost risk, and then what would be the section, what was the action required from the VBB, and what was the project participant or the developer response, and then what was the final result of the corrections and when this document was provided. So all that is been covered in the document. So I would also like to upload that document and then go ahead and approve and validate this. So now as you can see that my project is being validated as a project developer. And when I click on comment 3 or comments, I would see the complete conversation. As a VBB, I can also see that as a project proponent. In addition to that, I would also be able to see this conversation available to the standard registry because I have made this conversation public, meaning that everybody who is involved in this policy can view my comments. So as you can see here, I would be able to see a complete conversation between the project proponent, between the VBB, and then what is the end result the VBB have validated. So this was a demo on the complex iterative workflow. If you have any comments, feel free to please reach out to us and give us feedback. Thank you. Have a great day.